Welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays, a podcast on musical encounters and life. Welcome to Rock and Roll Fridays, and I am so happy. This is Mike D. I'm so happy to have a guest because I don't have to talk the whole time. And I want to welcome Giovanni to Rock and Roll Fridays. Giovanni is a South Jersey legend, originally from California, though. I
Yes,
saw, right?
yes.
San
Yes,
Diego.
yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir. Yes, I am.
So you made your way east to fine New Jersey, if you will.
Yes, and I wanted to save this special moment because if you remember in Rocky, where what's his name gets a apple thrown at him, that was my grandfather's friend Frankie that threw the apple at Rocky when he was running down the street. So I wanted to
That
save
is
that.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that's a deep South Philly history
yeah.
right there.
And obviously we, maybe not obviously to our listeners, but we are both of Italian heritage. And my
Yes.
parents are from Abruzzi in Italy. And I know we could talk a little bit about your Italian background, but talk a little bit about kind of what sums up Giovanni, kind of musically, professionally. Who are you, Giovanni?
Well, so I would say what best sums up me, Giovanni, is your friendliest neighborhood metalhead. As I got Spider-Man here, I took that moniker because I wanted to spread joy, even though I listen to metal music, but I'm so open to different music. I grew up with Deep Purple, Led Zeppelin, Steely Dan, and then I just found my way to heavier music. But I never forgot the music of my grandparents, Italian music, opera. Um, I just love music.
Yeah.
I just love music. Trust me.
And I always ask my guests, like, what is it about music that makes it so special? And right. And I've talked to other people about this. Like, we've probably met people in our lives or had people in their lives that say, well, I don't really like music, or I don't listen to music. And I never really could understand that. But what is so special about music to you?
To me, it connects people who may not be able to express their emotions. We as musicians can express that, and then you can feel that. So even if you don't like the music, which you just said, how's that possible?
Yeah.
We can express the range of emotions from sad, angry, happy, mischievous. All that can be in 3 chords, 4 chords, and change. So that's what I love about music, is the range of emotion.
And I think the misconception is that certain musical genres can only do that, right? And it's not true,
Yeah.
right? Rap,
It's
heavy metal,
uh-huh.
Jazz to hip hop to, like, all these genres can do what you just said. And I think that's what makes music so powerful, is the people listening to it can really resonate with that emotional connection.
Yes, they can. They should. They should.
So let's talk about when you think about Italian music and Italian musicians, right? There's Italian American musicians,
Yes.
but then there's just Italian, from Italy, Pavarotti, Bocelli, Mario Lanza, Eddie Lang.
Classic.
Eddie Lang is one of my favorite jazz guitarists. That in South Philly where I lived, there was a sign, Eddie Lang, like a historical sign. I always was fascinated by the way he played. And, there's musicians today that still listen to Eddie Lang and the way that he plays.
Oh, yes.
Joe Venuto was a violin jazz player. Obviously Frank Sinatra, Frankie Avalon. These are kind of iconic Italian legends. But talk to me about your experience in Italian music and Italian culture when it comes to artists and the musicianship.
Ooh. So I'm 40, so that will give you some frame of reference here. So when I was younger, I worked with an Italian gentleman from Roma, and at that time, I wasn't too much into Italian music or even my heritage. So he introduced me to Renato Carosone. Made in Italy is one record. I think it's 54 or 55. Tu fa l'americano. I think everyone that knows The Big Night, the movie The Big Night, that has that soundtrack in there. That's just a tidbit of Renato's genius before comedy and music, without being too cheesy. I do believe Renato was the first to have the chipmunks in the song, but his range of just musicianship is amazing, and it's in Napolitano dialect, which even I don't know everything, but it's just the music. Again, the emotions. You have to understand the lyrics. It's just fun. It's uplifting, and it was a time that after the war, Italians wanted to, just build themselves up again. And Renato was that. I'm trying to think of other musicians there around the time. So this was around 2006 when I started to explore more music from Italy. Of course, we already know Pavarotti, Andrea Bocelli. There's the rock band from the 70s that my boss, former boss, introduced, Poe, or Pooh, Winnie the Pooh. They're like a Journey style Italian band. Great music. Just introduced me to that. There's, of course, then folk music of Italy. That's even, it's strange that actually Italians in Italy don't listen to too much folk music. It seems like we listen to it more over here because we're trying to connect.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's really important for us about that. Musically, though, I would say I have not learned how to play any. It's a different style of playing than I'm used to. It's challenging. A different picking techniques and rhythm. It just fascinates me, though. But so speaking of that, what I always wanted to do is have an idea to play those Italian folk music as an ensemble, but not just the classic O Sole Mio, which are all great, but there's so much more that people don't know that just gets you chills just thinking about it.
And even if you don't know the language, I mean,
You don't, right?
I mean, even other cultures, when you don't know or understand what the lyrics are, but you can feel the power of the music and the power of the lyrics themselves, even though you don't understand kind of what they're saying or what they're talking about.
Yeah. I would say the person that introduced me, if Alan Lomax, he was someone that loved to go to different countries in the 40s and 50s. I'm also a big lover of the music from the Basque Country, which is just a whole different thing altogether. But what Alan did was go with the recorders, the old school, of course, in the 40s, 50s, and go to different regions and just get the music from Genoa, the sailors, go to Sicily, Calabria, get their music, go to Basilicata. That's where my grandfather's from, where accordion is more well-known down there. To me, that's fascinating. It was like, whoa, 20 different regions of Italy, 20 different distinct styles of music. It's mind-blowing, really.
So that would be a starter music to listen to
oh yeah,
if you want to get into Italian.
Alan Lomax. Yep.
Yeah. And you think about the Godfather movies and the screen and the scores of those movies, and how the music played an integral part of the storytelling.
Yes.
And
yes.
the family wedding scenes and the dinner scenes, and just it's so interesting how that type of Italian music played into the Godfather movies as well.
It's amazing. I also used to work at the Rim Cafe in South Philadelphia, across from Pat's and Gino's, and Renee, the owner, is a huge Godfather fan. Yep. I am too. I would say my favorite Godfather has to be number 2. Oh, it's an amazing journey of looking back, and it's a great movie.
Yeah.
But they're all great movies.
What I mean, from is there anything current in Italian music that you've been connected to or listening to?
Ooh, trying to
And
think.
I will raise a glass of red wine. I chose red wine tonight for the
Ooh.
Italian discussion.
Mm. I actually do have red wine. I did not think about drinking it. What am I listening to from Italy that is current? That's a good question. I don't think I'm listening to too much because I like to listen to some of the old time music, like I said, from the 50s. Um,
And
it's,
what is that sound from the 50s? Is it more jazz or is it more
ooh,
opera?
yeah, I would say, particularly for Renato Corazon, his music had jazz and classical, piano driven, great guitar, bass, and like I get said with the guitar style, very jazzy and very, if
Mm-hmm.
you have to strum a different way, which you could be able to do the tremolo like with the mandolin all day, but doing that is tricky. So I maybe don't have anything currently that I'm listening to. I am trying to think what I'm listening to, but I usually am going back to the old music because I just connect with it,
Yeah.
So
Can you give us a little taste of some or a couple lyrics or two?
well, my favorite song is Mambo Italiano. Hey, Mambo, Mambo Italiano. Hey, whoa, whoa. You mixed up Siciliano. Try a baccalaureate. Da-dee-da. I can't remember the rest, but Mambo Italiano. Yeah, just beautiful. Renato, to me, did that good. We know that Rosemary Clooney did that. Various other Italian Americans did that. They all great song. That's
It's
all I know.
awesome. That is
It's a
awesome.
great song.
So we're gonna make a Kubrick-like shift in going
Yes.
from Italian music to, is it death metal? Is it
Well,
rock metal? What is the proper terminology these
okay,
days?
this is good. Well, so we all have to, like I shared, I started, and most metal musicians always start with Deep Purple,
Yeah,
Led Zeppelin. They are the foundations. If you're a drummer, John Bonham, he introduced the triplets, and if you're a guitar player, Richie Blackmore. I mean, iconic. Just in the '70s, no one. If you took one of those solos from Deep Purple and just put it into a modern track, it would fit. It's iconic.
mm-hmm.
So the term would have to be heavy metal, and then you would have to go into specific extreme metal, which could be death metal, black metal, symphonic. I love all the genres, and there's so much. There's so many genres you can't even think about it. But what one people don't know is that Black Sabbath created the doom style, which is the slow, plodding, and they started that whole genre, which took off. Many people may not know that if you are a Black Sabbath listener, but they started that genre, which just keeps going and slower and just lower in tone. So yeah.
Why do people like this genre? What is it about that
Ooh.
type of music?
Uh, I think one is the expression of rebellion, because rock and roll is at the heart rebellion, or speaking on matters that people say, hey, we shouldn't talk about them.
Right.
Well, in metal music, it's why I think the term extreme is a proper, because we're going to talk about subjects that are really hard to talk about, but they happen. And people should know that when people talk about these lyrics, they're not saying, hey, go do this, but they're bringing you awareness. So that, to me, lyrically is why people listen to it. Musically, it's just evolving. You go quicker, you go faster, and you do different things that you would never think about, and you keep pushing. The way
Yeah.
I look at it is Arpatco. You start at one end of the music journey, and you can keep going. And some people like to get off, and
Yeah.
some people keep going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to me, metal keeps going forward in those ways, musically especially.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
speaking of keeping going, obviously everyone hopefully knows the premise of Rock and Roll Fridays is meeting a famous band or
Mm.
someone famous to you, and you have
Hmm.
a very cool story. Tell us
Yes.
a little bit about your famous encounter.
So it was, I want to say 2011 or 2012, in Camden at the Susquehanna Center. They had the Mayhem Festival, Metal Mayhem Festival. It was a hot day, as our humid Jersey weather gets.
Yeah.
And there was definitely some headliners that were going to be playing inside or in the main stage later on. Disturbed, I want to say Stained was there. I went there because it was my birthday. So this is July, and Megadeth was on the bill. So we're waiting for the other band to set up outside, and I happened to be in line for my birthday of meeting David Mustaine and David Ellefson of Megadeth. Two amazing, they're so incredible musicians. Dave Mustaine still can play his butt off after all these years, and this style of music at a level like that is crazy. I didn't get to mingle with them too much, but I got to have my poster signed, and I was
That's
just
awesome. Yeah.
saying hello to them. But I do have a story of someone that I met a little bit. It was years before that in Virginia at a place called Jack's. I don't think it's called Jack's anymore. There is a band called Martyr from Quebec. Really great band. The guitar player is now in Vovid, which is a classic Canadian band. And Daniel Mongrain was taking guitar duties for another legendary metal band from Quebec called Cryptopsy. And this was a lesson that you can be a musician in the extreme metal and be a professional. He played a great set. Oh my goodness. And Daniel came off the stage, put on his glasses, and we talked. And he's a music teacher. So he teaches pop music. He's an
That's
extreme metal
awesome.
guitar player
Yeah.
that teaches pop and jazz. And it totally made me go, whoa, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
his down to earth. And that just totally boggled my mind that you could do one music, but you don't have to be stuck in that.
You're a
Do
perfect
everything.
example, right? I mean, you're a perfect example
I've tried.
and I think all great musicians have this sponge-like
Yes.
characteristic that they could absorb all different genres of music and
Yes.
implement it into their own music.
Oh, without a doubt.
Giovanni, it has been an awesome chat around not only learning
Yes.
about Italian music, but
Yes.
you meeting Megadeth and you meeting bands that you love. And I want to thank you for being on Rock and Roll Fridays.
It is my pleasure, and thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you, Mike.
Awesome.
It's awesome.